All right. Hello, Idiots on Parade, the Too Ugly for TV podcast. We mock the news so you don't have to. Hello, Jake.
How's it going?
All is well here. That is Jake Vevra, stand-up comedian in New York City. I am Nathan Timmel, stand-up comedian in Iowa City. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bummed out, Jake. All is well, but I bought a new Fishbone shirt, and I'm not sitting so you can see it, but Fishbone, best band ever, and I'm wearing a new shirt. I wanted the audience to see it, but I'll just assume everybody's listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and they wouldn't see it anyway.
That's too bad. There's a giant cock and balls drawn on my tummy portion of my shirt, which they will not get to appreciate.
Yes. Let's jump in right off the bat. It was Halloween last week, so I want to get this one out of the way before we start. Well, I was going to say getting to heavier hitting news, but there's nothing harder hitting than this news story right here, Jake. I mean, we hear it every year. Celebrities, they're better than us. The reason they're celebrities is because they're better than us. They're better looking, they're more talented, they're smarter, and they're more apologetic. Whenever they make a mistake, they own up to it. And the headline is Schitt's Creek actor apologizes for, quote, ignorant Halloween costume. Emily Hampshire, all caps, really regrets her choice of Halloween costume this year. The Schitt's Creek alum took to social media on Wednesday to offer a profuse apology for dressing up with a friend as Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. And did you look at any of the pictures of them?
I didn't catch the pictures. No, let
me in one picture, it was beautiful. In one picture, I can't remember if it was the Johnny Depp character or the Amber Heard character, but someone was carrying around a little piece of fake poo. It was beautiful.
That's awesome.
I'm not going to try and get all, they're taking all the fun out of Halloween. It's a fucking costume. Never apologize for something innocent. If you're putting on blackface and doing like something horribly racist, okay, sure, maybe you should have rethought that. But how is it that when the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial was the biggest thing for months and months, and it was on every headline, that was okay? It was okay to report on it and feed the exploitation of two people who had a really bad relationship that got out of control. But when you call back to it a year later with a Halloween costume, oh, cancel her, she's the worst person ever. Don't listen to the fuckheads on Twitter. Fuck them. Wear your costume and don't apologize. Next year, go as, well, I was going to say Jeffrey Epstein, but that might be a bridge too far. I don't know. Dead Jeffrey Epstein. Go with Jeffrey Epstein with a belt or shoelaces around your neck.
Well, and Disney didn't dig Jeffrey Epstein up and give him $50 million for doing another Pirates of the Caribbean movie. If you're mad at anybody, get mad at Disney. They're the one who gave the guy a bunch of money afterwards.
No, they didn't do it after. Did I miss something in the last day?
I think they made an agreement to make a new one. Yeah.
Really? I missed it.
Pretty sure.
Right now. Okay.
I could be wrong. Maybe it was in the works, but didn't end up happening. But yeah,
it canceled everything. I'm not seeing. No, there's no update on it. Yeah, they actually used that trial as an opportunity to really distance themselves from him because his paycheck was just getting too high. And
well, I know they did during the trial, but I thought afterwards they made another deal like a month later or something.
No,
that must have just been talked about.
Once he was found innocent, if that's the word you want to use, he said he would be willing. Like before the trial, he said, "Fuck Disney, I'm never going back to them. They cut and ran and left me for dead." And then when he was found innocent, he said, "Well, never say never."
I probably read one of those hungover out of like one bloodshot eye and just kind of misread it, like a year and a half ago. But also, dude, with that costume, it's sitting right there. They're on a show called Schitt's Creek, and that lady shits the bed. So, how you not going to go dressed as that?
For Halloween, I stupidly thought it would be funny to dress as Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I am deeply sorry and ashamed for putting something that awful out in the universe. Here's my favorite part of this apology. That awful. This apology, I really regret my actions. This apology came when during the middle of a war in the Middle East. Yes, what you were putting into the universe was so awful. Meanwhile, bombs and rockets are being fired all over the place. Civilians are being killed. But
I
that
hope
costume, whatever your name is that played the sister, I think, Emily Hampshire, you are a horrible, horrible woman for your costume on Halloween.
I hope right after they signed this detailed apology, they then went right over to sign the endorsement of Hamas. Like many, you know what I mean? Like, we are deeply sorry for dressing as Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Also, from the river to the sea. Yeah. I hope they supported Hamas right afterwards.
Hey, let's talk about that really quick. I sent you an article. We have been fairly steadfast. We haven't been joking about the war because it's impossible to joke about, and we're a comedy podcast. Taking things possibly seriously for one moment. We have made statements in the past where if one side is saying, hey, we will try our best to coexist, but if you attack us, we will defend ourselves, and the other side is saying, fuck you, you have no right to exist, we're going to kill you. Well, one side has the moral high ground. Over this past week, do you think Israel has lost any of the moral high ground? They've been bombing. I think it was 3 times. I know there was at least twice, but they bombed a refugee camp because they said, well, there was a Hamas leader hiding out there or in the tunnels underneath. It's like, yeah, it's kind of hard to defend bombing a refugee camp to get one person.
Right. And the thing is, I think Israel is right about the fact that that guy probably was there.
Yeah, that's Hamas what they do. They hide out among civilians. Yeah, that's their game plan.
They've said that is the reason that they build stuff underneath hospitals is because they're like, oh, well, Israel won't bomb these. So we know this is where we put the important shit. It's like at that point, you do got to kind of go in and do the ground strike, man. Yeah. I mean, that, if the shit is underneath there, you're not getting it by bombing it for the most part.
Well, they're trying to collapse it, aren't they? Like we had, I remember when we had bunker busters where that would hit and like collapse everything. I get what they're doing. But I'm just not sure you can do it. You lose
possibly, but if there's an entire hospital on top of it, you're going to have to collapse the hospital to maybe get it.
Well, the hospital was something different. That I think was pretty much determined that it was a misfire
refugee camp. Yeah. Hamas did the hospital thing.
Yeah.
That was,
but the refugee camp, Israel has admitted to bombing, and it's like, I get what you're doing. I'm just not sure you should be doing that. I think that is,
yeah. And so, I mean, the only way to do it is to kill a bunch of people around him.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what Hamas is going for a little bit, because then they get to turn to the rest of the world and be like, hey, look at this shit that these evil infidels did. Give us more money so we can fight this kind of thing. And that's their game plan, dude.
And that's what we talked about last week. It becomes well, you did this, so we did this. Well, look what they did. Well, look what they did. It just becomes this expanding, pointing fingers, and it just becomes a huge mess because each side is playing into the stereotype that the other side is trying to paint them as.
Well, right. Yeah. And I mean, with the refugee camp thing, it's like, well, you're going to get so many more people that are civilians than Hamas guys. I mean, the only way to do it is to go in on foot. I mean, everybody has been talking about the ground strike as if that's somehow so much worse than what they've already been doing leading up. And I'm like, no, I think the ground strike, you can have boots on the ground as opposed that can, decide
targets
to shoot and who not to shoot, whereas the bomb just fucking blows up everybody around it. So,
and the problem then, of course, they're trying to avoid casualties on the side of their military, which you have to understand. Like, I get it. You don't want to lose your own members of the military, but it's war. It is a fucked situation. There's no really trying to justify any of it.
It is. Yeah. And I mean, unfortunately, it's a situation where like that is how you lose the moral high ground. It's by killing so many more civilians than they have. At a certain point, you kind of go, now it's back to just, hey man, there's good and bad on both sides, and I mean that's
and really quickly, let me interrupt just to anybody that happened to stumble across us tuning in for the first time. Jake is speaking from experience, a couple tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan. So like you've been in
well, yeah, I mean, there was times where they would shoot at us from a town And especially in Afghanistan, and some of the, for the most part, they would just take pot shots and then they would just kind of go away, because
And
they
then
lived in these
what
big
were your
fallout
what
things.
was your ROE? What were your rules of engagement?
Well, we would shoot back if we could acquire a target, but the thing is sometimes there'll be kind of in a colot that's in between some colots, so you can't really see where the hell it's coming from because they're not really shooting enough to where you can pinpoint it. And at that point, you're wasting ammo at best and you're killing civilians at worst. Now in colots, it's a little bit different because in rural Afghanistan, they lived in these giant fort things called colots. And they basically they got 30, 40-foot walls and most of them are in a square, but then the actual buildings are built on the inside of the giant wall, and those things are 50 cal rounds wouldn't even go through them, so
that's fucking insane because those are powerful.
They're massive. I mean, we would hit them with Mark 19s, and that wouldn't fuck them up. I mean, the only way that it's really going to mess with those walls is if it's a wall that's so eroded and damaged from, lack of upkeep, previous damage, whatever. But my point being, firing into a civilian town that's colots is very different than firing into a civilian town in most other places in the world because those bullets will go through the buildings and hit civilians, whereas they won't. So most of the time we would just push forward and those guys would fuck off, sometimes they would send more than just one guy doing pot shots and it would be plenty of people and they would take some casualties and stuff like that. For the most part, we just had this big blimp called a PTIDS that would say like, they would see it and they would be like, hey, fucking they were dragging guys off into vans and trucks and stuff like that and then just kind of drove away the colots, but for the most part they would that's how they would do it, and they would get intel back to us from some of the bigger ones that we would get in saying like this is what the Taliban told like the Taliban in the other region, or like they would intercept intelligence somehow, whether it was phone calls or official statements they were putting out going so like they would start shooting at us. We would shoot back. They were like, the evil infidels were firing on the civilian town and we bravely fired at them and we blew up some of their MRAPs and stuff like that. And it's like, well, A, no, you didn't. We took no casualties. B, we were returning fire at the town. That's a big goddamn difference.
Yeah, you didn't just drive up and like, hey, look at that town. Let's just open fire.
Yeah. Are there Muslims in that town? Well, we are evil infidels, and Satan is telling us, Satan's getting on our. Yes, Satan, you want to shoot that town there? Okay, we'll start shooting at Satan. That's basically what they were putting. Yeah, yeah. 1-6. This is 1-2 Diablo. I want you to shoot at that town, for they aren't eating bacon. They're eating shitty turkey bacon on their breakfast sandwiches, and it really pisses me off. Take them out, And so that is according to their intel that they were, passing each other, and
it's all perception, how you see it. So I have to admit quickly, I don't want to take this conversation sideways. When you said blimp, I immediately laughed because we've talked about this. We've talked about this. Whenever you talk about the intel blimp, I immediately go to my experience in Afghanistan where I got taken up into the security tower and they said, oh yeah, we got a blimp and we can see like 360 degrees for like 5 miles. And then they focused in and showed me the video of the guy, two guys fucking a donkey or a sheep. And they're like, yeah, we catch this every so often. And so you said blimp and my mind always goes to the time where I watched 2 Afghani nationals fuck a sheep because that's what military intel was picking up, was like, well, we got these 2 guys out here in the field. They think they're in the middle of nowhere. Like nobody can see us. And the blimp is just watching them, like
also good intel to know, you know what I mean? Every now and then when we know that the Taliban had infiltrated a town, I take the sheep that the farmer really likes to fuck and I put my pistol to its head like Tom Berenger in Platoon. And I go, I cock-a-dow VC, and he's like, don't shoot my sheep. And I go, I cock-a-dow VC. And then I sometimes shoot the sheep. And it's a big
send
thing.
a message.
I get into a tussle with Willem Dafoe over it. And he's like, why'd you shoot the sheep that guy likes to fuck? You could have shot one of the ugly ones, Barnes, and me and him fight about it. And later I killed him and I blamed it on the Viet Cong, which was tough to do because we were in Afghanistan. But either way, I killed. But
then he ran out after the helicopter and dropped to the ground.
Yeah.
Everybody knew it was you.
Yeah, and they were like, "Why is he going like that, getting shot?" And I went, "I don't know. I guess the Viet Cong did it." And they were like, "But we're in Afghanistan fighting the Taliban." And I'm like, "Shut the fuck up, or I'll demote you." And that was just the way it went.
Now I want to watch Platoon.
Yeah, good movie.
No,
Good
Manny,
movie.
this is important stuff.
Yeah. But either way, my point being, they will attempt to get you to fire on civilian targets so they can go, look what the evil infidels did to these civilians.
And as you just said, there's a difference between firing on and just like dropping bombs on refugee camps to get one target. And they can say, we have all the intel. He was right there. We got him. Yeah, but at what cost? You know? And honestly, I hate to say this because, again, we're supposed to be a comedy podcast, but what this has been studied since forever. You are creating more enemies. The survivor, all they know is a bomb hit them. That you're not. I get it. You know, my kid was there and they were trying to get that target. I get it. You know, like it does you no good long term to create more people that dislike you because it's just a fucking mess.
No, I mean, unfortunately, I think the only way to do it is to ground strike, get in those tunnels, get those hostages back, man. I mean, and this
I think I said this on the pod. I think I said this, and it's horrible, and I apologize. Or come to the understanding that those hostages, probably might get written off. And I get it. If I had a loved one over there, I'd want anything done to save them. But it's
not necessarily, man.
Dicey.
They've been releasing them little at a time.
That's true.
It's not like they've killed them all and they're going, oh no, we still got them. Look at this sock puppet. This is one of the hostages on a grainy video. Like that ain't
little Weekend at Bernie's action. They got them propped up like the Democrats.
That hostage ain't got a head. What are you talking about?
Well, let's move away from that. Let's get on something that hopefully we can get good. Oh, this I thought was interesting. Well, let's stick one more. We're going to stick for this one more just because of the headline. Selena Gomez, celebrities. Jake and I, we've talked about this a million times. Whenever anything happens in the world, no matter what, thank God we have celebrities to turn to for their thoughts and ideas on the situation. Anyway, Selena Gomez.
I got to know how a 29-year-old singer wants me to feel about war in a place she's never been to.
Selena Gomez under attack by fans for, quote, sickening. Sickening is the quote. Sickening is what people are calling this. A sickening statement on Israel-Hamas war. Well, what did she say? Let's find out. I'm going to read this verbatim.
It was so sickening, it actually gave me the runs before this podcast.
I've been taking a break from social media because my heart breaks to see all of the horror, hate, violence, and terror that's going on in the world. People being tortured and killed, or any act of hate towards any one group is horrific. We need to protect all people, especially children, and stop the violence for good. I'm sorry if my words will never be enough for everyone or a hashtag. I just can't stand by innocent people getting hurt. That's what makes me sick. I wish I could change the world, but a post won't. Love, Selena. Sickening. Oh my God. How dare she? Fans blast Selena for her post. You celebrities don't really realize how much your words and voices matter, can impact other. And it's sickening to hear you say, I can't stand what's watching. Imagine living there. Fuck you. The words, if a 29-year-old singer's words impact you to the point where you're going to make a life change or listen, or fuck off. It was a fine statement. She is upset. She's sickened by everything, and you're blasting her for not taking a side. Eat a bag of hammered assholes, you fucking cunts. I'm glad I never spent my money buying your products. Shame on you, Selena. Fuck you, you cunts.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of Selena. I'm not like a Selena, I must defend her at all costs. I'm just these fucking people. They remind me of the cunts that came us after us.
I'm gonna white knight Selena. That's right.
Yeah.
No, but
these people remind me of the people that came after us for suggesting that circumcision wasn't horrible.
Yeah, I mean, to me, not circumcising a kid is worse than anything either Hamas or the Israeli government has done in the last few weeks. In my mind, you're making them walk around with that anteater,
right?
And it's stinking. It's causing problems. They're never going to get
cottage cheese growing in there.
Yeah, dude, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. I would rather my kid join Hamas than walk around with that fucking anteater. But no, I mean, Selena Gomez. This article to me is another one of those articles where they're clearly just taking three people on Twitter and making that seem like, because when I first read this article, I read that part and then I kept reading it over and over again, going, well, I clearly missed what she said that's offensive. That was like she's taking a break because she's getting backlash. She's going, oh, but it's fucked up what happens to everybody. Like, she either made something that was so pro-Israel, like get Hamas and those fucking kids that they're hiding, next to Hamas. Who are helping hide Hamas, something like that, or from the river to the sea, wipe Israel off the map. Like it sounded like she said something crazy like that.
Yeah.
But that's all she said. Like what she said read as like a backpedal on what the headline hinted at her saying on either side. It was really like she didn't take a side. She just said, hey man, it's fucking wrong with it. And bro, her last name is Gomez. You know what I mean?
She doesn't have anything invested in this. She's
right. It's not Malala Dodd or Hirschenberger, or like it's not like she clearly, like, why the fuck would you ask someone named Gomez about it? Like, what the fuck insight are you going to get from a singer named Gomez on what's happening in the Middle East? Like, it's crazy.
How dare her take a stand that protecting children, especially children. I mean, Jake, I owe you thanks right now. I absolutely appreciate what you just said, because that's something we have talked about a million times, how these fucked up fake stories are just some asshole failed journalist finding three assholes on Twitter and turning it into a story. And I absolutely forgot that. I bought into the, like, really, this is what people are pissed over? It's not. It's
there's no way. This is the least controversial statement you can make.
It's some shitbag reporter without any talent trying to gin up controversy, and it worked on me. It worked. I clicked on it. I'm like, what the fuck? But you set me straight. I owe you thanks for that.
There's no way. Yeah, you always got to look for those, like, who are they quoting? If it's just some random jackass on Twitter, doesn't count.
Yeah,
I'm just writing it off at that point. If that's all they have quoted, if it's like, well, they have some people of note,
politicians,
know what I mean? Heads,
or
politicians, other celebrities, like whatever, then okay. And then they have some of those just to kind of, hey, this guy spells it out really good. But if it's just randos, then who gives a fuck?
Yeah, it's just the dumbest people on Twitter who maybe they might be trolls themselves, or maybe they really are that stupid.
I mean, anybody that's upset at her about that, that's somebody who's clearly been in a coma since October 7th. And they just woke up and read oh my God, Hamas hit Israel and Israel's been bombing them back. I wonder what the fuck, Selena? And they're immediately, like, she was the first Twitter profile I went to. It's like, I'm a huge Selena stan. Clearly, she must be on the side I am. Oh my God, she's not taking a side. Imagine how pissed off they are when they read somebody who's actually taking a side.
Yeah, one of those Hadid models.
Right.
Yeah. All right, Jake, this story surprised the shit out of me. One of the biggest assholes in American government is Josh Hawley. We know that. He's just a dick. However, the headline took me by the headline got me, so I read it. Mitch McConnell warns GOP senators they'll face incoming if they back Hawley bill to limit corporate giving in campaigns. Josh Hawley presented a bill that restricted donating to politicians, and Mitch McConnell lost his fucking mind and told every Republican, do not back this bill. We like money. We like donations. Who'd have thought that Hawley would break from his party and do something so wonderful? Try to do something good for the people, to take on Citizens United. Because that was the point of Citizens United. The only way to overturn a Supreme Court decision is to create legislation that is bipartisan and voted upon. Yeah, ending corporate influence on Elections Act is aimed at reversing the 2020 Citizens United decision that loosened campaign finance laws, and Hawley defended his bill, rightfully so. And Well, this is funny. In 2018, the very last sentence, Hawley benefited from more than $20 million from Mitch McConnell's PAC. So, yeah.
That's right. And it a linked tape. I mean, it gets really bad. They have a link to a tape at the bottom of there of him in his office going, I'll have Josh Hawley killed. I will. I'll have him do it. I'll put his head back into the left, just like I helped done down in Dallas to that fucking traitor, John F. Kennedy.
Okay.
That's right. I gave him $20 million.
I think the thing that
I could have him killed for 10 grand.
That this wasn't an AOC or anyone like that brought this bill up. Josh Hawley, of all people. Do you think we'll ever have anyone like, it's not just, I know it's all Republicans in this article, but Democrats benefit just as much from all the corporate. I mean, they take as much money as they can too.
Well, that's just it. And it's hard to be. So you have people on the far right who are kind of like, sort of the political outsider types, you know, who are sitting there to drain the swamp, to this and that. Now, granted, the guy who coined the term drain the swamp was himself a billionaire, you know, so it's like, what, dude, you're the swamp. Like, what
and used the political influence of the office to benefit himself mightily, drain the swamp. Oh, by the way, all foreign dignitaries should stay at my hotel to curry favor. Yeah.
Right. And so it's insane who that thing started from. That said, there's plenty of people who, you know, kind of bought into that. And hey, man, it's a good thing he's saying with the drain the swamp thing. I mean, it's just, you know, people on the left look at it and go, well, fuck you. You're the swamp thing, dude.
Yeah.
What do you, you know, but
great, say it, but act on it.
There's plenty of people on the right who are sitting there like, no. I like the sentiment. And I still think there's too much corporate money in Washington. I'm gonna drain the swamp. I know he didn't. I know he got in there and was like, it's my swamp now. I'm going to put gold on the side of the swamp. It's going to say Trump on the swamp. It's going to be great. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of that going on over there. Just like there's people on the far left who don't like the sort of more mainstream corporate Democrats either. And so it's kind of weird seeing them link up on stuff like this.
It is. And the sad truth is you will get 10 votes from either side. Say this bill makes it to the floor, which it will not. It'll not. You'd get 10 votes on either side and everyone else would vote against it, saying it's flawed somehow, when in fact it probably is not flawed. It's probably a bill that, it's not like we need to end, there's no pork on it. We need to end endless money coming into campaign. And by the way, I need $1 billion for a bridge in my district. It probably doesn't have any of that. And yet they will still call it flawed and we need to examine, and it needs, and then it'll just die in committee. You know, people won't vote. But the reality is they just like money. They want money.
People want the money. People want money.
Speaking of money, I thought this was hilarious. I actually sent you a tweet, but I looked up several news articles that spelled it out, that this is absolutely true. NFL coaching contracts are fully guaranteed. So with the Raiders firing Josh McDaniels last night, this happened a couple days ago, and John Gruden in 2021, they are now paying between $40 and $80 million for these two not to coach the team. And I looked into it. He fired the GM at the same time. That number explodes to above 85 million, I have read. Literally, you hire, like, here is a 6-year guaranteed contract. Oops, you fucked up in year 2, you're fired. Here's the rest of your money. My God, how much money do you have to have? How many billions of dollars to just say, 80 million here, go not work? It's insane that these are the contracts that they get given, guaranteed.
And as a lifelong Lions fan whose team is finally good,
yes,
I'm glad that 2 weeks ago we beat the Raiders so bad they started making financially horrible decisions for themselves because they couldn't deal with it. They couldn't deal with the hurt that Jared Goff put on them.
Did it come after the Lions loss?
I think so.
I think it did. Yeah.
Article from? Yeah. It came after the Lions loss, because this article's a few days ago.
Yeah, it came right after that. Oh, running out of time. All right, so let's start banging out things. All right, we'll click off that. Oh, sticking with money. This came and went. This disappeared. I stumbled across this. I think it should be bigger news. DeSantis allies earn big paychecks on the front lines of his culture fights. So this article goes through these appointees a former state of the new president, Richard Cochran, a former state, gets paid $1.3 million a year to oversee the university, about 700 students, whereas the previous guy made $447,000. And it goes through this whole list of articles where, he's got this, we're going to have no woke in our system. The schools are going to be controlled. They take out a president making 300,000 and give him $1 million. If you are allied with DeSantis, you get paid a ton of money to do a job. It's amazing that no one's pointing out the conservative, fiscally responsible right is just throwing money at their friends. It's just putting friends in position of powers. It's an interesting, fascinating article.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I don't think his whole culture war thing that he's really kind of leaning on heavily is playing that well to people in swing states, because he's doing things like this. He's spending a lot of fucking money,
taxpayer money. This is taxpayer.
Yeah.
You put it in, and there's a guy just read, collects $447,000 a year. That he's just on the board at the Florida College of Medicine. He was against the he was against the coronavirus vaccine, and so he's not even like, when you're on the board, what do you really do? You just sort of show up for meetings and give your opinion, but you don't have day-to-day responsibilities. He makes almost half a
fuck yeah, dude. I think I'm gonna go down to Florida and just spout crazy fucking vaccine shit, just hoping that DeSantis will throw me like $1.5 million to fucking show up in a suit and approve textbooks or whatever. I'm just gonna go down there and be like, Matthew Perry, Chandler from Friends. He takes the Moderna booster, and then 19 months later, he just drowns. I'm supposed to think that's a coincidence. Yeah. I'm supposed to think that Johnson & Johnson and the Clintons weren't involved. Fuck that. DeSantis, pay me. I'll tell him what's up.
I like that you threw the Clintons in, because I hadn't seen that one. I'd seen articles all over the place about the booster and the jab taking Perry down, but only one friend of mine, and now two, you're the second one, said, how come nobody's saying the obvious? It was Hillary Clinton. Could have been.
Wait, are you serious? Are there actual fucking people claiming?
Yeah, they're saying it's the jab. They said what you said. They literally said they would pull up an ad of him talking about getting the booster a year ago, whenever this ad popped up, and they said, the jab. No, you were fucking around. That's out there. They're saying the jab killed him.
I was fucking around, dude. I was straight fucking around.
Well, either way, you should do it, because according to this part, there are 59 people in DeSantis's office earning more than $100,000 a year, which is twice as many as there were under his predecessor, Rick Scott. So, you become a friend of DeSantis and you just ask for money, like, hey, I'm going to go tell the world that slaves were happy people. Oh, here's money to maintain that high level of education standard. Was that Florida that said, or was that Texas? That might have been Texas. I
think that was Florida, but either way, now I got to come up with a nutty conspiracy, because that's already hacked.
It's already out there.
You know what I mean? Taken. I'm going to go down there and he's going to be like, yeah, but you're just jumping on the bandwagon of Moderna killed Chandler. So I'm going to hire the guy that actually put that article out first.
This has nothing to do with anything. No, it's not even funny. I'll tell you later if I think of it. Let's kick our last story off. Last week, we talked about the new House Speaker, Mike Johnson, being a kooky religious guy. Kelly Johnson, who is married to House Speaker Mike Johnson, practices a form of Christian counseling that classifies people into, I don't even know, phlegmatic, choleric, and other ancient personality types purportedly ordained by God. Hey, Jake, can you think of another cult that breaks people up by personality types? Something involving aliens and Tom Cruise and John Travolta. Right, Scientology. You're either you're a suppressive person, or you're... how do people think their religion is the right one when they're all just the fucking same cult with different names?
Yeah, but I will say, in terms of therapy, this article's talking about, I mean, they got these weird labels. They don't have normal labels like my therapist uses. And I'm like, okay, now you got to show me the fucking science behind that bullshit. Because therapy is a lot of fucking pseudoscience nonsense that gets fucking thrown around in that shit too.
We had a comment a while ago. Do you remember the basketball player that was in therapy? You went off on that. I can't remember any of the jokes, but it was hilarious. We had a comment like, "How dare you go after therapy?" Someone did not like that. So if they continue to watch, you're going to get blasted for taking
Yeah,
on
yeah.
therapy.
Hey, tell me how that makes you feel. Yeah, I just did just about 80% of what your fucking therapist does that you pay him, $700 an hour for. So you want to talk about a real fucking scam. There we go. That is a
Uh,
secular scam right there that you're getting fucking roped into.
Her counseling, which had a varying fee structure, pay what you can give. Maybe I don't know. Was affiliated with Cypress Baptist.
Goddamn right. It's religion and therapy combined, the two biggest scammers of our times. So
their church, in keeping with the denomination's views, proclaims it is welcoming to all, but makes it clear it only, quote, recognizes the biblical definition of marriage. So purchasing a wife. So and only sex through marriage. So you can't have premarital sex. So the biblical definition of marriage, which is trade some slaves for your wife or buy a wife from a different family. So yeah, they only recognize purchased wives.
that's pretty out there. Yeah, well, he's into this conversion therapy a lot. This Mike Johnson, and see, the thing is I, you know how they say like a lot of homophobic people are like closeted
Yeah,
gay
yeah. They
themselves.
go out and do the wide stamp in the stance in the Minneapolis bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's true with most of them. I'll break down homophobes into two categories. You got
All right.
category one, who's just kind of casual, who's just sort of like, yeah, I just think marriage should be kept between a man and a woman because I think gay shit is gross. But what's really gay is these fucking gas prices, and then they're just kind of off to something else. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it got legalized everywhere, and they were like, well, that fucking sucks. But now look at this shit that Obama said. Fuck this guy, Medicare. This is bullshit, and they didn't really, you haven't heard a lot out of them. But then there's category two. There's category two who are like, oh, marriage, yeah, that should be kept between a man and a woman because it's destroying our society. This is gay marriage. It's taking us all out. It's what made the Roman Empire fall. That's a weird conspiracy I heard in the last week or so.
I've heard that one in the past. They say that.
Yeah,
They compare it to Caligula. Yeah.
right. And it's like, well, I'm pretty sure they were doing gay stuff throughout all of the Roman Empire. Like, what are we
Not just
talking
at the
about
end.
It's just, although the end, they kind of converted to Christianity, who doesn't like that. So maybe a little more butt fucking would have saved that thing, huh?
Maybe Christianity felled the Roman Empire.
There we go. But so either way, category two, the guys who really put a lot of calories behind this, who are like, oh no, it's the category one goes, yeah, I don't like gay stuff, but I don't like these gas prices even more. Category two goes, gay stuff is the reason gas prices are so high, and they're the fault of hurricanes and everything else. Like that guy, I think that guy, category two, is gay, right? Like that guy is secretly closet gay because there's why put all that calories behind it if you're not gay? And B, they think it has all this power and stuff. And he keeps saying in a lot of these old clips and in this article, like, well, homosexuality is choice. That is one thing that a lot of these guys with the conversion there, but it's like, I think that is true in the sense that it's a choice for them. I think they made a choice at a certain point. And so they're
cover it up.
Right. Hey, make the same choice I did, ignore the urges, and just wear this crazy sweater vest. And have this lady that you don't really make a whole lot of eye contact with, on your side, and call her your wife and do all that. So I think that it is a choice for guys like Mike Johnson. I think he made a choice.
We're about to get cut off.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. Visit Jake Vevra online. You can find him on all the socials at Jake Vevra. And I can be found at nathantimmel.com. And I was watching that thing. And once it hits under a minute, we go away. So. Cool. My friend, good seeing your face.
You too. Later.